Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Small Stages, Big Sounds. As you're all aware, we're in the middle of festival season, and some of the team go to a load of festivals across the UK. We've got a younger member here who actually went to Outbreak Festival in Manchester. His name's Josh, and we're going to have a chat to how the festival went for him. So, hi, Josh. How are you?
How are you?
I'm okay. Okay. Right then, Josh. How was Outbreak Festival for you?
I think it was pretty fantastic. It's certainly the most chaotic 2 days of live music I think I've ever experienced. The first day was a little bit more chilled out, as I think the festival organizers booked the more ambient bands, should we say?
Okay.
Like Slowdive, Alex G being the main headliners people were excited for, and then some cool sort of alternative rock, progressive bands throughout the day to get people warmed up. And then on the second day, the Sunday, it was pretty much all hardcore bands all day, which start to finish was pretty terrifying if you were near the front. But it was a really fantastic experience, and overall, I really enjoyed both days.
Okay. Was it obviously you enjoyed the timetable? It was pretty well set up. Were there any particular highlights that stood out for you?
Definitely. I think for me, most of my highlights came on the second day. But before I talk about those, I would like to mention an artist called Jane Remover, who I'd never really heard of, but she has this really interesting, it's almost Gen Z like dubstep electronic sound. And it's just a very dancey, different kind of vibe to what everything else that was more slow and shoegazy on that day was. And
Mm,
it was really interesting. And I think that was the set that surprised me the most on the first day. And
sure.
then during the second day, there was a secret set around 5 p.m., if I remember correctly. And I had a few guesses of who it might be, with Guilt Trip being a guess, because they're a Manchester based hardcore band that a lot of people like. But they actually brought out Loathe, who were already playing a set at Download. So nobody really expected it. But when they showed up, I think they played arguably the best set of the weekend.
That was a good set for them if they were going to take that off to download then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's sort of a post-punk hardcore metal type festival then.
In a sense, like, I think the reason why Outbreak is such a popular festival is because of its diversity. It really does have something for everyone. Because even just looking at the headliners this year, you have Not Loose, who are arguably the biggest hardcore metalcore influence band in the scene right now, and that really caters to all your fans of heavy music and metal in general. And then artists like Alex G and Slowdive, they kind of cover to the more alternative crowd, but maybe people that aren't as interested in the crazy thrashy heavy side of things.
Okay. I mean, these are bands that have passed me by for obvious reasons. Being of a certain age, you listen to the music you listen to. I do listen to a lot more varied music than I have previously, basically because my son's about 28 and goes to festivals all the time. And he's just come back from download. So there we are.
Oh, brilliant.
So would you go again is the question.
I think I'm going to go every year I can go while the festival exists.
Good. Well, that's a good recommendation then. Was it a big crowd?
Pretty decently sized. I'd say main stage capacity, which was the only outdoor stage, was approximately 5,000 people.
That's a
But
big old festival then.
yeah, there was a little bit of room for people outside the main barrier, but that would probably be a fair estimate. And then I couldn't say exactly for the indoor stages, but maybe 3,000 people for second stage, and then depending on where you were stood and what you count as the third stage, because it kind of sprawled back into the outdoors a little bit, but maybe 1 to 2,000.
So, being a multiple stage event, most people's usual gripe is clashes.
Hmm.
Were there many clashes, or was it timetabled really well?
This is honestly the thing I was quite impressed with, because both days were structured, as I've sort of mentioned, a sort of heavier, crazier day and a more relaxed, chilled out day. And you'd think in doing that that a lot of bands would clash in a similar sort of genre, which I thought a lot of fans might be concerned about. But they honestly managed to plan it really well. For my entire experience at the festival, I got to see every single band I was interested in seeing without having any clashes.
Well, that's a good layout then. So they've worked it really well. In, like I say, a multiple stage. Was there trouble moving around between the stages?
It wasn't too bad because if you think of festivals like Download, it can be a good couple minutes walk between the stages, right? But festivals like Outbreak, being on that little bit smaller scale, they were a lot more manageable, I found. It was probably about 1 minute to get in and out through the stages. And there were
Uh,
big crowds that were kind of bottlenecked by the little barriers, which meant you'd get to a set a little bit late. But for the most part, it was pretty straightforward, and you would never really miss more than the first song of an artist that you were interested in seeing.
well, that's pretty good then, considering for the multiple stage festival, because that's most people's big gripe is,
Mm,
oh, I couldn't get to see X, Y, or Z.
yeah.
Was the crowd fairly well behaved, for the want of a better phrase?
Well, it depends what you class as behaved, but I think the thing with Outbreak Festival is it's no barrier, which encourages stage diving, and I think that's probably the biggest appeal of the festival, with how rare that is in the UK these days due to regulations and whatnot.
Mm.
But what I think is really special about Outbreak is from the outside in, the mosh pits can look extremely violent, and the stage diving can look really quite scary when you see 50 people crowding an artist and then them all throwing themselves off into the crowd immediately after. But there's a real culture of just looking after each other. If someone falls over, you pick them up. And in all fairness, the security seemed very well acquainted with what the festival was going to be, and were able to quickly get people out if there were injuries.
So were the artists okay with that number of people on the stage at a time?
I think that's the reason they enjoy playing the festival so much, because it's such a unique experience.
I bet it
And
is.
it's artists that enjoy the culture of stage diving, particularly in that hardcore scene.
Well, this sounds very different. I can say that. Not something that I'd go. Did you see that image from Download of the father crowd surfing with his daughter stood on his stomach?
I did, yes.
That
That
was
was
pretty
brilliant.
cool.
No, it was exciting.
I bet he made himself a name from that.
World's coolest dad.
Yeah, she'll remember that all her life. Okay, so would you? As I said, you said you'd go again, but it's predominantly sort of the 18 to 30s age group.
I'd say that's probably the bigger demographic because it tends to be up and coming bands that are either being showcased for the first time or bigger, more niche bands that have just kind of blown up. It's not like the entire thing that's going on there, but that definitely tends to be a good portion of the lineup, I think.
That's pretty fair, really, because looking at like I said, looking at the website and the information that's come from it, it looks like it's that sort of age group that would have went to it. And
Definitely.
so that's your first time there.
My first time and hopefully not the last.
So where are you going to next?
I have Radar Festival in the books to review in July, and
That's
that'll be
pretty.
a
That's pretty big radar, isn't it?
decently sized, yeah. I'm not sure it's as big as Outbreak, but I'd have to double check on that.
Yeah. Because I had a long chat to Josh about not Josh, Jason about radar because he's going as
Mm.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got a few members of the team
Yeah.
heading there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, is the other one that's in Blackpool or Manchester? Is the other one that's in Blackpool?
It's also in Manchester,
Yeah.
around Victoria
Okay.
Warehouse.
Okay. So yeah, because the one in Blackpool looks enormous.
Yeah, I think that's the punk festival, isn't it?
Well, there you are. Again, not my scene. But nonetheless, it's a good job everybody likes different music. So, okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks for
Anything
having
you'd
me
like
on.
to add?
I think once again, I just really recommend Outbreak Festival for anyone that's looking for a bit more of a different, sort of crazier experience. And I had a
You,
great time.
you can't say more than that. And I'm sure Outbreak Festival organisers would be very happy to hear it. But There we are. Thanks for your time and
Thanks for
all the
having me.
best. Cheers, Emmy. Bye.
Try this again! Off the back of the Sri Lankan tank! On the side of the fucking Euros! On the side of number fucking 87! Back with me! Back with me! 1, 2, 3!